Live from the rooftop of the Hermann London Real Estate Group in beautiful downtown Maplewood, it's the St. Louis Realtor Podcast with your host, Adam Kruse.
Welcome everybody to the St. Louis Realtor Podcast, live from the rooftop of the Hermann London Real Estate Group in beautiful downtown Maplewood, Missouri. Tonight's topic, our producer's going to kill us because it's a really long title, but it's all about how real estate sellers can kill the deal for themselves on accident, or how their agents can help kill the deal for them without them knowing, or that's the title, Joey, so deal with that. And we have, again, of course, and always, my co-host, Shannon St. Pierre, a Realtor here with the Hermann London Real Estate Group, and we've brought in one of our favorite guests we've had, Tony Barra, insurance expert. Maybe you can share some insurance deal-killing stories for us here today. But we really want to talk about all the different ways that we've seen sellers kill the deal. Our hope is that realtors that will listen to this will avoid doing the things we're going to talk about. And we hope that sellers who will listen to this will avoid doing the things we're going to talk about. Is that right?
Well, really, I think it's not just about sellers. I think some agents are doing these things.
A lot, yeah.
Agents are
doing
sabotaging their own deals.
They are.
Yes.
They are, and not necessarily on purpose. Right?
No.
So I've got tons of notes jotted down, Shannon, about things that I think go bad. But should we start? You know, we often just jump around in our topics. But do you want to just start? Because we're all fired up and passionate about what agents are doing wrong. Let's just start there, okay? Can I just say that some realtors who are not using showing time, which in St. Louis is the free and automatic method of scheduling a showing for a home that's done through a little purple button on the MLS, and it works great, and it automatically email or text message the seller and get their permission to let them show the property, or if the property's vacant, it'll automatically approve the showing for the buyer's agent. Why are all realtors not using this?
Okay, so you know that this is a huge pet peeve of mine, and I don't know. I don't understand why you don't use something that's, number one, the most convenient and free, and you make people call a showing. What's the other one that go back and forth, and they try? It takes so long.
Well, old school thought. Then I guess doing the old ways of business.
The old ways of business are becoming very frustrating because now, you know, I had this experience. I think last weekend, I had to schedule like 6 showings. Right. 5 of them were through Showing Time, which is a free service to realtors through the MLS. I was able to click schedule, click schedule, click schedule, click schedule. And then one of them was using this company called. And so I literally had to call the number, and I had to tell her, I think 3 times, why I was calling, what my name is. Then she forgot, and then she looked up then she had to retell her the property address.
And then you probably had to spell the address.
You got time for all that?
Yeah.
I had to spell it. This was all very frustrating. But you know what? When I got done with it, I thought it was done. But then I realized, 2 hours later, wait, she never confirmed my appointment. So I'm driving to the house. My client's in the car, and I realized she never confirmed my appointment. So I call back.
Yeah.
And I don't get the same lady. I get a different lady. And she says, why are you calling? Who are you?
There's no notes.
Is this Noah from Indiana? No, this is not Noah from Indiana. This is Adam from St. Louis. The same way it's been every time I've called from this same phone number. And why are you calling? The same reason that every single person ever calls in. Your service only does one thing. I'm calling to schedule a showing.
How are they still around?
Right? Yeah. And that's the only reason why I would be calling you. And so the lady who I had called earlier had somehow managed to not enter my request in. And so this lady then said, no, you have to give 2 hours notice. And in frustration, I wanted to just hang up and not show the property, but I didn't. I said, will you please call the seller? You guys have made a mistake. I called earlier. I tried to schedule this, blah, blah, blah. So then I'm on hold for a few minutes while I'm in the car with my client, right? She calls, and I get to show the property. The baffling thing about this, other than all the frustration that I'm going through, is that the listing agent is paying a monthly fee or a per listing fee to this company to do a bad job when she could be using the free service.
Okay, so, and the other problem that I see and hear about is that other agents, if they have to call, they actually will wait maybe until they figure it out, or they don't do it at all and hopes that the client just kind of forgets about that listing. Or in all honesty, sometimes they have been so pressed for time, I guess. They've said, we will have to come back to that one. Here's the ones I can get scheduled right away. I'll meet you over there in 15 minutes, because sometimes it is a really pressed
Maybe the real
timing.
estate is
But then
fast-paced.
guess what happens?
What?
They
They don't
forget, and they never show it.
Wow.
And so this is not just a podcast about us complaining about stuff, right? This is
No,
about
this is serious
how
stuff that
bad agents are killing deals for their clients, right?
And
so-
educating sellers, and because I don't think sellers realize that this is happening behind the scenes.
And you know what? That agent is probably trying to convince their seller, because I'm sure this is a big company, you know, and I don't mean to even just be picking on them, but they have a couple competitors too. But I think they provide reports and documents and stuff that agents can use in their listing presentation that agent is probably using to get the listing by saying, hey, I use this service. And now you'll know how many homes being showed in this area or whatever.
But Showing Time does that as well in the MLS.
Absolutely. But the agent, I'm just saying, the agent is probably using that to get the listing instead of the seller being like,
to all those
"Whoa,
agents,
are you-"
MLS does that as well. Showing
And
Time.
it's free.
And it's free.
And so if we were just complaining, then we would just be talking about how then you call other companies, you have to call their office, and the agent who's working on that Saturday morning or whatever is like, hold on, my computer's running slow.
Every time.
Every time. The computer is always
slow. And they're actually a little bit easier than so I don't mind them as much, but the computer is always running slow.
Hold on, let me get to that screen. I'm like, oh my gosh. Why am I calling you?
And they're always super, super nice. And but at the same time, they do have to either call you back, you have to wait, email, and
And so
I
in
have a
relation-
complicated name they could never find me.
They can't find you.
Yeah.
The house is probably sold in that time.
And so in relation
Sometimes it
in relation
depends on
to
the
our
market.
topic,
Yes.
in relation to our topic, like Shannon was saying, some realtors we've heard will just avoid showing those properties. Right? If you're going to show
There's
your
some that
clients 10
avoid it
houses,
altogether, which I'm like, oof. But then there's just some that, because of the time constraints, and they say they're going to come back to it, I think it's a 50-50 shot after that.
Yeah, because if there is 10 showings and you only have time, or if the client wants to see 10 but you only have time for 8,
Yeah, you're going to pick the ones that are click, click, click.
probably going to clip. Yeah, you probably do those first. All right, you go, Shannon. You got one?
Oh, yeah. Pictures. Pictures, pictures, pictures.
Shannon, what is wrong with pulling up to the house, not even getting out of your car, and taking the photo with your camera and having the side view mirror of your car in the picture? Because we do see that. And what is wrong with that? I don't understand.
Actually, we do see that. And that is usually foreclosures. But I'm talking about, and fine, for a foreclosure, it kind of is what it is. I still think you should get out of your car and take a legit photo. However, I'm talking about photos for listings that 200, 300 plus.
600, whatever.
I am floored, absolutely floored, that any agent will show up with in those any price point range. I mean, you always preach to us, treat every listing the same. It doesn't matter whether it's a $50,000 listing or a $500,000 listing.
It's representing you.
Yes. But it still really floors me that people just take photos with their cell phone. The cell phone does not take that good of photos. And for one, they take them vertically. It's the same thing with video. And my husband's a huge video guy, does a lot of video editing. It's his biggest pet peeve is when people take videos vertically versus horizontally.
Okay.
It's the same with the photos. And your brain cannot see vertically. So your brain sees horizontally. So when you show a vertical photo in the MLS or online anywhere, it cuts off what your brain thinks it wants to see.
Well, that makes sense because like PowerPoints, they put them on the landscape because you're visually, if you had it up there like
Yes.
a Microsoft Word document,
Right.
nobody pay attention. You turn it sideways.
Yeah.
So the pictures
So
are too
it's
small.
it's a
they're
brain
grainy,
thing too.
The lighting is bad.
Oh yeah, never
then-
mind the issues. Like the lighting is bad. Like you can't get the full.
Then you get a
scope
picture.
Of the
It's
room.
like, here's a picture of the corner of something, like a corner of a room. This room has walls.
Yeah.
Here's another room with
Yeah,
walls.
and it is bad lighting. I think that it's worth professional photographers in this business are nothing more than $100. Now, I advise you just go out and get a really good camera. They're not, even if you spend $1,000, which they can be really expensive. You could make that up in 10. Think about it, 10 listings. $100 for a photographer.
See, I don't. You might be good at photography. I'm not good at photography, but I hire a professional photographer.
I think you should still hire a photographer if you're definitely not good at it. Or you have. I have the software where I can lighten up photos. I can. I have photo software, so I can do that. But the other pet peeves when you're taking photos is please just put down the toilet seat. I don't understand. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
When I see the toilet seat,
Tony and I don't get it either because we're like, what's wrong with that?
Yeah,
that thing's ready to go. I don't understand.
Please just put it down. It's not that much effort, and it just sticks out. And people comment on it.
There was a house that I was interested in. I had been there before, so I knew I already liked the house. Mm-hmm. And it got listed, and the agent took incredibly bad photos. And I was actually kind of appreciative of that in this case because I was the buyer.
Yeah.
But because she had such bad photos, I believe that's the only reason that this house hadn't sold yet. And so I made a crazy lowball offer, and they actually countered me. Instead of, they should have totally rejected it because they had multiple other offers because it's a gorgeous home, but the photos were so bad that no one else was going.
Is it because he took them at 9:30 at night?
I've seen that too.
With their cell phone. And I think they still had a flip phone. You can't say just...
See the flash off the window in the front of the house.
I have seen that, yes.
I don't know if we can just say cell phone because cell phones can be really good now, but it was just bad. It was a bad job, right?
I think if you can, yes. I think if your phone is good enough, I think you get away with it. I still think there's a quality difference, but I do see many, many listings. I'm like, oh, that shouldn't be sitting on the market.
No.
I know where that house is.
Exactly.
I bet it's an awesome house. And look at this price point, and it's dropped so many times. I'm like, oh.
I swear, in this case, I think it cost the
Photos.
sellers close to $50,000.
I don't think sellers are really aware of, and I don't know if they don't check, although I would hesitate to think if you had your house on the market, wouldn't you be like curious about what the marketing remarks are?
Well, on the same
photos?
context of photos, let me ask you this, because I personally believe that kind of like less is more. You know, I want my photographer when she goes over there. Yeah, I want her to go over there and take 100 photos, but I might only post maybe 15 of them.
Well, this is part of one of my things is understanding your target market, and I would disagree. I know there's a current listing on the market, and I'm like, where's the backyard?
One of my listings doesn't have the backyard?
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Maybe it didn't have a backyard.
Maybe it doesn't.
No.
And maybe I missed it, but maybe it wasn't yours. But there's one I was like, where's the backyard? I know it has one. I went to the history, and maybe this wasn't yours because I had to go to the history. But there is a backyard.
I don't think it was mine. Because I like to have that.
You like to do minimal because you want and think that it
Here's
pulls
what my
them
theory
in.
is.
Yeah.
You know, now the MLS requires you to have at least one photo, but years ago it didn't. Okay, and so you could have 0 photos. And I sat there watching my buyers, and this one little 3 minutes of my life has carried forward for the next 10 years.
Okay.
But I watched my buyer. He was clicking through homes, and he would find a home, see it, and go through the photos. And then he would go, oh my gosh, a pink bathroom, right? And he would skip that house. Oh, never mind. I don't want this house anymore. And he'd go to the next house and the next house and the next house. And then he'd get to one that had 0 photos. And he'd go, what about this one? This one's kind of interesting. Let's go to this one.
Mm-hmm. How much time did you waste?
And so, well, I'm sure I wasted a lot of time. But we went to the house. That's my point. So if those people would have either not had that picture of the pink bathroom, we probably would have gone there, right? Or, you know, I'm trying to use the example here that this guy with 0 photos, he was interested in the house, but too many photos gave him an excuse to not like the house. Because if you have 50 homes to look through, that's what you're looking for, is excuses not to like these houses.
Okay, so on the flip side to that, so I have a lot of millennial buyers, say. So if they don't see the other bathroom, quote unquote, the second bathroom, they have to assume it's in the basement, and they're like, it must be pretty bad.
That's interesting.
Because if you don't show something, they assume it's horrible.
Really?
And I've gotten that comment more than not. So they want to know what's there.
So you're
And
saying
maybe maybe that's not the case for every age group. And every age group, though, there are some age groups that I think would put up with a pink bathroom because I think that they know that who cares if it's a pink bathroom in great shape and the rest of it, and there's a new furnace and a new roof, I'm in.
All right.
So
it's like
my turn. I get to bring up another bad agent thing.
Okay.
Okay, so here's where I think agents do a bad job. I can actually kind of argue that it's maybe a good job, but you're a buyer's agent. You call a listing agent, and you're kind of just like, I've literally trained the agents at our company. I'm like, call the agent and just ask anything. So what's up with this house?
Yeah.
Right? And you call the agent, and they go, oh my gosh, these sellers are getting a divorce, and they're desperate for the money, and they really need it, and they owe almost nothing. They can afford to sell, right? And the price is too high. Just bring us an offer. This is literally the kind of stuff that some agents will say to you. And it's amazing. I mean, the reason I'm like, is it bad? Is it good? Because when they give me that much information, I am almost like a shark tasting blood in the water.
Yes.
And it makes me want to, like, hey, clients, we can really get a good deal on this one. But it's also extremely, like, bad for their client, right? I mean, this is not helping their client get top dollar for the home.
No.
Not at all.
So, I do that. And I will. Well, no, I don't talk. I don't talk about if I'm the listing agent. I don't say anything other than this is a really great home.
Yeah.
They've taken such good care of it. It's like everything you'd want to hear, as long as it's true. One of the number one rules in sales. So I've been in sales for, I don't even know, long time, right?
Ever since college, so like 3 or 4 years.
Ever since college. So the number one rule is shut up.
Uh-huh.
So I will call, ask a question, and sit on the phone. And it makes people so uncomfortable. And they'll say something and go, okay, and?
Okay, and that's your move. I love that.
And then they're like,
okay,
and they feel like they have to fill the time. It's wildly interesting, but that is the number one rule in sales.
Yes.
Is not just shut up, but listen. So listen. And people, and I've had people kind of, I don't know that I've really had anyone do that move on me, but I would certainly fill the time with all the positive aspects. But it's wildly interesting how nervous people get.
Yes.
And what comes out.
And the agent is telling...
And they're not doing their due diligence to the seller.
So they're not necessarily killing the deal for the seller, but they're really not representing their seller the best that they can.
Right.
Right.
They're not killing it. Because if anything, you're kind of going, oh, wait a minute. But they are bringing in potentially lowball offers.
Absolutely they are.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so they're not killing the deal, but they're not helping their client at all. Mm-hmm. Okay.
You're wounding them.
You got another sort of bad agents kind of thing?
I got a whole list. So
Okay.
we can go
So
all night.
your turn.
So commissions.
What about them?
You know, this is a hot topic. I think, and I know that there are agents that refuse to show homes. I don't do this. I'll complain about it, but I won't refuse to show a home because they're only offering 2.2,
my favorite topic.
2.5. Like the industry average, if you didn't know, is 2.7 or on up. And I do see most of the really reputable agents usually give 2.7 to 3.
That's what they pay out the buyer's agent.
That's what they pay out to the buyer's agent. But I'm seeing so often this 2.5 stuff, 2.5 or 2.4 and below. And it's a huge turnoff. So I'm more than happy. It doesn't discourage me definitely from showing a property. But I'm going to open the door. I'm not going to work for it. When I can go show it the next house for 2.7 and be like, let's talk about all that positive aspects over here. I do know agents that say, no way.
Yeah, so this is like kind of a merger between what I'm considering our two categories. This is a bad agent and a bad seller getting together and just having a party.
But I don't think sellers are aware.
Well, they're probably not aware of the repercussions, but a lot of sellers are trying to talk the agent down on commissions. And a lot of sort of, I don't know what's the word is about the agent, but they're not able to basically stand up for themselves, right? And
they give the discount.
They want the job, so they give a discount.
I'm fine with that.
Give a discount, that's fine. But then what they do is they force the discount on the buyer's agent.
Yes,
right?
that's
so this
what I
listing
disagree
agent
with.
goes to a home and they don't have the ability or the confidence or the whatever to charge a quote unquote normal commission.
Or they do it for a friend or a family.
Or they do it for a friend or family. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. We should say there's no standard commission
Absolutely.
or whatever.
Again, I have no problem with that.
But what they do is they give the discount, but then they make the buyer's agent suffer the discount too.
Yeah.
And they say, well, hold on. I'm taking less. Why shouldn't they? Because the buyer's agent isn't friends with the seller.
Yeah, he doesn't.
The buyer's agent isn't this guy's client who's listed 5 homes for him, right? The buyer's agent, whatever. The buyer's agent has done nothing to deserve less than, I don't know if we should say normal commission or whatever, but
the average
commission, whatever
or the norm,
whatever
the
our
industry
attorney
norm.
would want us to say.
Yeah.
Okay. And so then if a buyer's agent is showing 10 homes tonight and all of them have one commission and then one of them has a significantly less one, we're still going to show it. Hermann
sure.
London, we definitely still show it. But like you said, we might not be super excited about
enthusiastic about
The
it.
minute they show any negativity, like, okay, boom, let's go down here.
Yeah, I'd be like, all right, cool, let's go. And then, but I will definitely go out of my way for there are some agents that I really do like that are very fair to work with, number one, pay out fair commissions, that I really work for them in the background and talk about their listing and point out the positive. And look at this. It says new roof. Look at this. This furnace looks awesome. Oh my gosh. So, yeah. I think commissions, whether sellers realize it or not, is a huge problem that, but then I think more than anything, sellers just are naive. Mm-hmm. And it's the agents, though.
Some sellers.
I really think it's on the agents.
Yeah, well, it is on the agent, and I'll never forget one of my friends who's a realtor for a different company. She does a great job, but she just whatever she charges, she just splits that in half, and that's what she offers the buyer's agent. And she said, "I'm not going to take less than the buyer's agent." And then in the same breath, but I gave this guy a discount because he lists all of his homes with me. He's an investor and he does all these deals, and I'm like, "But dude, the buyer's agent is not getting all of these listings. Why are you punishing them? Why are you punishing them?"
Yeah.
Because this guy sends you all of his business. I don't get it.
Yeah, so I'd really like to say to agents to really think twice about that one a little bit.
All right, my turn?
Yep.
Okay, so here's what this is a little bit harder to say exactly, but I think agents often can do a bad job on how they present either an offer or how they present the pricing to a seller. And I think that by doing that wrong, however you would kind of put your teeth around that, I think they're setting improper expectations for the seller, or they're just setting the seller up to fail, right? And so if you go to a seller and you say, "Hey, I think this home, is worth $200,000, but the market's hot. Let's list it at $250," or something. I don't know exactly how they're presenting it to their clients, but they're setting their clients up to fail because their client then thinks, "Oh, $250 is what we should expect." And they're doing their little spreadsheet on $250, and they're using the number $250 for what they're going to pay for their next house. Mm-hmm. But then when the offer comes in closer to market price,
at $200,
for
your
the
example,
seller's mad, or they reject it, or they do whatever, and they either don't respond or they just don't end up getting a deal because their expectations were improperly set.
And all of a sudden they feel dejected. So overpricing is probably one of the number one things that kills deals for sellers.
Yeah, overpricing is definitely that's a huge problem, right? And
right.
One of the frustrating things as an agent.
But it's as an agent, you go in and try to sell the overpricing.
You try to sell it, and then one thing that's frustrating as an agent is if you are the listing agent, you're the first listing agent, and you agree to that price, and you do everything you can do. You do all the good stuff, and then the home doesn't sell because the price is just too ridiculous, and then the seller blames you, right?
Yep.
They either fire you or they don't rehire you, and then they hire a new agent who, oh my God, they did such an amazing job. They got my home sold in a week. Oh, really? What else did they do? Well, they just lowered their price by $30,000, and then they got the home. But they sold in a week. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
That agent
Yeah, I
is
can.
so amazing. Wow, that's awesome.
I had in my old subdivision, there was a neighbor up the street that had a price, their house listed, and it was just way overpriced. And they came out and it sat there with that realtor for like 30 days, 45 days. They ended up getting rid of that guy. They the next agent came, they only owed it like $5,000.
That's it?
Yeah, and was still like out. They went through 3 or 4 realtors, finally pulled it off. Pictures were great. That being said, it was a Christmas house. They had Christmas decorations everywhere, Santa Claus blankets on the bed. So,
Year round?
Yes. These were an older couple.
We talk about
They ended up pulling the house out completely off the market. Still don't even know if it's sold.
They probably ended up selling to some investor for a low cash offer at some point.
It's sad.
Because,
Pricing's a problem, and I don't feel like I've said what I'm trying to say here enough, but I think that you can
just because it's a hot market doesn't mean that you can overprice a house.
Yeah, right. But like presenting the offer too, I mean, I try really hard not to tell a client, whether it's a buyer or a seller, like any sort of guarantee, like, oh, we're going to get you this for the home, right? Or I'm going to call this listing agent and negotiate this inspection deal for you or whatever. I don't think you should ever set improper expectations and promise things that you can't deliver, basically. We talk about under promise and over deliver, but I think people, I'm having trouble putting the meat around this. But
I don't think you can ever predict. It's homes, it's people, and it's emotions. And anytime you have emotions involved, it's unpredictable. Mm-hmm. On all sides.
In most of my real estate fails, hashtag real estate fails over the years, I think it's been times where I knew that a property was worth, X, and we ended up listing it for a much higher price because that's what the client wanted, and I agreed to it.
Well,
and then it doesn't sell.
That goes into the overpricing issue.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Your turn.
All right. So can I go to the and this is one of mine is no showings until the open house?
Yeah, let's argue about this.
Okay, let's totally bring it.
Why do you not like that?
So I don't like it because there's a lot of individuals. I've had more than a couple clients who have said, I have obligations on Sunday. I can't do it. I had one this weekend. Wanted to see a house in Southampton. They're first-time home buyers. They're ready to jump anytime. Mm-hmm. But they're like, we're having a friend's Thanksgiving. Like, we're hosting. I can't leave my own hosting, party. Like, can't go see it. Oh, okay. Wow.
So my caveman thought about this is that by saying, we'll put it on the market on Thursday and saying, coming soon, no showings until Sunday. And then maybe I'll say, I'll offer, if I'm smart, I'll say all offers to be reviewed by Monday at 5 or something like that.
Okay.
That's my caveman thought because that's kind of what I've seen a lot of. That's what I've seen working for people. What is your sort of smarter twist to that?
Okay, so I think it is an older school thought just because it was something that was done and started when there was, after the bubble, it was to create that excitement. Mm-hmm. That is no longer necessarily needed. I think the smarter twist on that would be showings start Saturday. All offers in by 5 p.m. Sunday or 8 a.m. Monday morning to be reviewed with a time deadline of 12 p.m. Monday.
So the important part is show it whenever the hell you want.
All weekend long. I say open it up all weekend
Friday,
long.
Saturday, Sunday.
No, open it up all weekend long. If you're not ready, if you're not ready, you're not ready. But I don't, and I wouldn't draw this out too long.
So
I would
showings
say
can start Friday or Saturday.
No earlier than the Friday.
There'll be an open house on Sunday. But
no offers.
All offers to be reviewed Monday evening at 5.
All offers to have an acceptance deadline of 9 a.m. 12 p.m. Sunday. I recently had one that said was 9 p.m. Sunday.
Okay, so you just don't want what we're trying to avoid here is that we put a house on the market and then someone rushes over there. They make an offer. They only give us 3 hours to respond, and we don't have the chance to let anyone else see it and get multiple offers, which is what we want. We want the multiple offers.
Right.
And so you're saying give these people time to get over there, and you'll have a better chance of getting multiple offers.
Right. And what if the agent's busy? Like, it's a really hard gamble. And I think it's a big gamble to only allow Sunday open house, all offers to be reviewed. Why not? If it's such a great house, why not allow all weekend long, Saturday and Sunday? Come look at this house, all offers to be in by 5 p.m. Sunday. We will review them with a deadline of 9 p.m. Sunday if you really want to tighten it up.
Just playing devil's advocate here.
Sure,
just
Tony,
to you guys.
you better be on my side, though.
Is it a seasonal thought process, maybe? Because I understand what you're saying as far as, creating a buzz, getting multiple offers, stuff like that. And I know you said that was kind of the old school way of doing things.
It's a post-bubble thing that agents started to do.
So it doesn't really matter 12 months out of the year. Though.
You have to be sort of in tune to the market to know if you're going to get multiple offers or if you're going to be begging for offers.
And that's your guys'
And
specialty.
honestly, so this one client is looking, say, I think in Webster, under 200.
Okay.
Everything in Webster, under 200.
Gotcha.
If it's even halfway decent, is getting multiple offers.
Yes.
So this is
yes.
whole. We could probably do a whole show on multiple offers, but I just want to ask you, how are you, Shannon St. Pierre, listing agent extraordinaire? That rhymes.
Wow. Hey, did
Look at
everyone
this,
witness
got a
that?
rap
You
here.
said it? You said my name. No, you just said my name.
Wow.
How are you going to handle it when you do what you just said you're going to do, and I go over there Saturday morning, I submit a full price offer Saturday at noon, and you got till Saturday at 4 to respond. Full price.
You put it off on the sellers. The sellers want to open it up for all weekend to allow all sellers or
Well, you
all
just said
potential
you're going to
buyers
not
through.
look at anything until Sunday night at 5. But here's my offer. I'm only giving you a 2-hour window because I'm
Sorry, the
aggressive.
sellers are unavailable. They're actually out of town and
So you're
unreachable.
going to lie? You're going to lie?
That may be the
they're
truth.
actually
How do you
putting
know I'm
gloves on right
lying?
now.
So basically, I think
No,
and you're
and
not
I
going to
just-
lie. You're just going to have to say, look, sorry, we don't. That's
Yeah.
against what we've agreed to. And
Yes,
it's not
I've
fair to all
agreed
the
with
other
my
agents.
sellers to open it up all weekend. I didn't want to wait till just the open house, but I wanted to give everybody an opportunity to look at it.
We want to give everyone the opportunity. I
Yes.
think that's fair. That's honest to say. And the agent who tries to get you to change your
I think
rules,
that's a bully.
Yeah, that is kind of. That's not.
And
fair.
that's not necessarily, I think it'd be great. I always want to get my seller an offer, but at the same time, how bullish are they going to be throughout the entire process? And then when maybe the sellers could be working with someone who's a little bit more compatible.
Okay.
So
my
bullies
turn.
are killers.
Bullies are killers. That it was one I was not going to bring up, but I will tell you there are some.
People don't necessarily like dealing with a bully. But
Yep.
all right, so we had an agent today, right? We had one of our agents in our office went to an open house this weekend. He's looking for a home for himself. He went to an open house this weekend, and the agent who was holding the open house open said, bring an offer. The sellers are negotiable. The sellers are motivated, whatever, right? And so our agent comes back. We talk. He submits an offer on the home. It's a little bit lower than what the maybe 10% or so lower than what they're asking for the home. But the listing agent calls him back and says, sorry about your luck. The sellers are not going to respond to your offer.
Okay.
What do you think about that? I don't like it.
So I wouldn't, to any agent, there's no reason that you can't get your sellers to respond. So say it's on the market for $200,000, they offer $150,000. Clearly it's potentially insulting.
Mm-hmm.
It's way below. But no, so they counter back at $195,000.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is
ego
where we
thing
are.
is a real problem, I mean,
So just at least counter
respond.
back.
Oh,
Maybe
the
they were
sellers
just
are
testing
mad
the
or
waters
whatever.
and they
Like,
do want it.
Yeah, you know what? The
At
buyer
least counter.
wants this house. This buyer wants this house. He went to the open house. The listing agent's person who was there, whatever, basically said the sellers are super motivated. So our agent is basically testing how motivated are you, right? He could have offered $1, right? If this is the price is right, he would have offered $1. And then the seller needs to come back and let them know how
Something.
motivated they are, right? Instead, they're letting their ego get to them. They're not countering. And this guy is probably, instead of coming back tomorrow and letting his ego get, bruised or whatever,
not shopping.
with the raise and offer, he's looking at other homes.
Yeah.
That's what he's going to do. And when the seller should have come back, even if they said, sorry, full
$195.
price, or if
Yeah.
they would have come down $1,000, or just came down. Maybe, they could have come down and given their...
So no, right now, anything,
Maybe not
but I
giving
think
their
you should
lowest offer.
always respond.
Always respond.
Always.
They should not necessarily give their lowest offer, but they should give, a couple grand probably above their lowest offer. in my opinion.
Just to let them know where they're, like you said, how serious they
Kind
are,
of
how
where
motivated
they're
they are.
at.
They want to sell the house.
And there
all
are a
you're
lot of
looking for.
realtors. Absolutely.
You have
throw
a
it in.
live buyer, and they're basically just turning away from it. There's no indication that there's other offers or anything else. So, in my opinion, that agent should be pushing them harder to make some sort of a response.
Absolutely. I am always just respond.
common
It doesn't
courtesy.
matter. If you want to respond at the list price, you just respond.
Yeah. So, in my opinion, you should always counter and be like the last to counter. I actually learned that on a deal I was doing a year or so ago, maybe 2 years, with an agent, and he was like, "I'm of the thought that you always counter and always want to try to keep the deal together if you can."
Absolutely. Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And so this agent is basically letting the seller kill the deal too early, and they shouldn't do it.
So on that point too, though, before I was even an agent, I was at an open house, and if you allow someone else other than yourself, the listing agent, to hold the open house, please educate the agent
Yes.
that's holding the open house. I was asking questions. What about this? What about that? What about this? And they're like, I don't know.
I'm just
I don't
filling in
know.
for so-and-so
I don't know,
couldn't
but
be
do you want
here."
to buy a house? You want to buy a house? And I'm like, not from you. You know nothing about this house. And me and my husband walked away going, well, I don't know if we're interested because we still know nothing about the house. And we were more specific about the systems because we know that's what costs the money. So
I'm definitely
just
guilty
a
of
little
that.
tip on that.
I'm definitely guilty of that. I like to let other agents hold my listings open.
Yeah, but then just tell them what you know.
Hopefully they're, the problem with this agent is it wasn't that they didn't know whether it was gas or electric heat, right? It was that they gave information that they didn't actually have. They said this seller is motivated.
Well, they might be motivated.
Well, they said that.
But not way.
And now they're not motivated. They're not motivated enough to even respond to our offer.
Okay.
Okay, your turn.
Let's do a fun one. And this is probably more on sellers. Do we want to stick with agents for a while, or do we want to just go straight to sellers?
I want to keep sticking with agents if you don't mind.
All right, let me...
You got to revamp her strategy here.
yeah,
Now you
hold
kinda threw her off
on
guard.
here.
Yeah, we're sticking with agents, and then we're going to jump into sellers.
Okay, so the number one agent thing that I think is absolutely a deal killer, and that I think you should get out of the business on this one.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
Here we go.
I really do.
Get ready to edit this out, Joey.
This is why I won't become a realtor.
My number one thing is I will give feedback. I always give feedback, and I've given feedback so many times and said, yeah, my clients are potentially interested. Here's their question. Crickets.
Nothing.
Nothing. I have, in some cases, an agent might email me.
Probably something pretty vague too, like, oh yeah, they didn't like it.
Yeah, if you
Like,
want to make it up, if you want to
yeah,
chat,
sure,
whatever.
whatever.
And I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. If sellers understood or sellers knew the lack of work that agents were doing, and when I just said to you, yes, potentially interested, why wouldn't you be on the phone in 5 minutes saying, how can we make this deal?
So
What
tell
are the
me, what do you think they were
questions?
thinking, that agent, when they possibly read that? You have to assume that they read your feedback.
Why
Were they
would
thinking,
then they're not even
"Let
doing their
me
job
sit
either
back,
if they're
kick
not
up
reading
my
the feed?
I'm not going to market this home
Probably because
anymore.
the
We got
toilet
an offer
seats
coming
were
in."
up. You know, thinking, why weren't the toilet seats down? I would have bought that.
There you go.
Why would you not call me and say, how can we bring this deal together?
I don't know. But so that okay, so then I'm going to twist that one into
Sure.
the agents are either being too aggressive, or in your case they're being too, what's the opposite of aggressive? Lackadaisical, right? And so
Fancy
sometimes
word.
you get feedback.
Very.
I've given feedback before, and I'm like, hey, the feedback is, the home smelled like cat pee or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then an agent calls me yelling, did you tell him it's in a Gold Star schools? And did you tell him this and that?
Well, that's the wrong approach.
That's too aggressive. But you're talking about agents who are just not doing anything. You're like you say, that's ridiculous. The agent is not trying to bring the deal together.
I just don't think you should be. If
I
you
know what
can't
they're
even
thinking.
Call me,
I know
though.
what they're thinking. They're thinking, if you're interested, you'd make an offer. And what are they going to do?
That's
Call
not true
you?
because I did have an agent. I think of her, and her name is totally escaping me, but she worked obviously another brokerage, and she just called me at exactly when she said she would. I'm going to call you in a few days. I'll call you in a few days. And boy, did she call me every few days. And sometimes I'm like, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, sometimes I don't know what to tell you. Just accept that, and then she would tell me something more. I just want to let you know these sellers really took great care of this house. They love the neighbors, or
they
were
so
like,
needy,
She's working.
no, they were just telling me
this is
information.
good. This is
and
good.
in turn, I'd just tell next time I was with my buyer, even though I didn't want to pound her and go, hey, that agent called me again. Hey, no, I didn't do
You'd
that to
bring
the
that house
buyer.
up.
Okay.
Hey, by the way, so the agent called me again. So here's a few of the comments that she said. I just want to pass it along to you. She was just telling me about the homeowners and how well they took care of the house, and they did this, and they love the little street and their neighbors and this or that or whatever it is, more than a couple times. But she stayed on me. And then I said, look, I think the house it's priced a little high. And she's like, okay, so she sent me a whole spreadsheet of her comps, legitimate comps. And I'm like, okay, I think we're somewhere in the middle, like between here and there. And then she fought for them. And we ultimately bought the house.
Nice.
Wow.
They bought the house. Absolutely. It was a first-time home buyer. We hadn't been out that many times, but she stayed on me. She stayed with me. She was patient. She was just persistent. So I do think that if you do not call me, and when I say my client's interested, you're not at all doing your job. No. The only thing you've got to do in this world is
Follow up,
or at least try and sell the property. Yeah. That I don't understand.
At this day and age, a simple text.
All right, let's
chat.
jump into sellers. How are the sellers killing the deals for themselves or hurting themselves?
Gosh, the list goes on and on and on. Boy. Do you want to start?
You go ahead. You seem to have a long list over there.
I do. So they're the obvious of the DIY projects, the outdated plumbing fixtures and lighting fixtures that I don't think cost that much. It does cost a little bit, but to just update those or the first floor.
That. I showed a home the other day. It's in the $600,000 price range, right? Mm-hmm. Gold doorknobs, gold fixtures on the sinks, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, wow, this seller could maybe spend $500.
$1,000.
Make another $5,000 on the deal or whatever.
They would,
and
we
sell
walked
the house.
out of there.
No.
I was trying to explain to my client about how, wow, look at this. You could spend $1,000 on these updates, and you would feel like this home was updated.
Yeah.
I mean, this home needed a few other things like some flooring and whatnot, but I'm like, wow, they could
just
literally.
The fixtures.
Just fixtures?
Alone.
Fixtures meaning light fixtures and
plumbing
doorknobs.
or faucets.
Okay, so plumbing fixtures like faucets, and then in the master bath they had the tub and it had like the gold.
Mm-hmm.
What do you call that?
It doesn't cost that much.
Yeah, they should have absolutely spent the money and updated that. What are we thinking now? Brushed nickel? We still on brushed nickel?
Oil bronze.
Oil bronze is oil bronze right now. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, wow, you got to go to oiled bronze. Wow.
Yeah, but I tell you, it's just slightly higher. Not that bad.
But going back to that, like you're talking about the gold, if it's just the handles and they updated those cabinets and lighting, your eyes don't even get drawn to those gold door handles.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
but people get fixated on that, buyers, and especially in that price point range. Come on,
it's crazy because literally, the seller's killing the deal there, but I'm like, come on, buyer, go to Home Depot and you'll see that these doorknobs are like $6 to $8 a piece. You can do it. It'll be fine.
You can do it.
It's hard to convince the buyer to do.
Absolutely, right.
Yeah, but the DIY projects, I see a lot of DIY that are not done well, like those peel and stick like backsplashes.
Oh, I hate those.
Where you have the lighting fixture, like for the garbage disposal. Thank you. Yes, and it's not even all the way butted up or against or even underneath. Yeah. It's just because they couldn't quite figure out how to fit it all in there. You're better off just having
or not doing anything all to it.
Or having something outdated.
Buyers are really
bad.
interesting. Every buyer's different, and I will remember a story where a buyer was in a house. We were in a kitchen. They kind of liked the house actually, and you're probably going to be people listening back. Well, that's a bad agent. You're a bad agent, Adam. But my client saw that one of the electric sockets was kind of like improperly installed. It was kind of cattywampus or whatever, and he said, if they did that wrong, what else did they do wrong that we haven't seen?
That's the thing.
And that was his mindset. And I don't think that makes me a bad agent that I didn't stand there and try to convince him That oh, no, you should buy this house.
No, and as an agent, how can we possibly know? But
how do we know, right?
That's the number one mistake sellers make.
The bad DIY projects. Love it.
Bad.
Yes.
Outdated. Oh, smells.
All right, you get another one. Smells?
Smells. Can we just...
What about smells?
Oh my gosh. Smells. Smoking and pets. And then people buy these really cheap or really highly scented, like, I don't even know, the things you plug in, the things you...
And that's even worse.
It's worse.
I was
so it's scents covering scents, and then it's just madness.
I want to stand up for the smokers because they smoke in their house. They can't, make their house not a smoking house. Or the people with pets, right? What are they supposed to do? The people that go to the extra efforts to do a bad job with smells. Can we talk about that? Like you said, they go and they buy 10 Glade plugins.
Without cleaning up the cat urine on the carpet.
Yeah.
We're just going to let that marinate there, but I'm going to add some Febreze in here.
You can do some stuff about the smoking smell.
This Ocean Breeze little candle and Glade plug-in.
But don't go to extra efforts to make the smells bad.
Don't go to the extra effort. But I think that there's things you can do. And so if you need to air out the house. Every home has a scent. And so it's even if it's not smoking or pets, every home has a scent, and you need to air it out prior to putting it on. You can take down the curtains, just throw them in the dryer with a couple dryer sheets for 10 minutes each, like each panel, like vacuum, wash the pet bedding. Like there are things you can do. Clean out the traps or throw down a bunch of baking soda and vinegar down the drain, let it sit for a while.
Have the carpets cleaned, yeah.
Yeah, so when it's overwhelming, I showed a house, they liked it. They couldn't get past the smoke smell. And I'm like, kills it, people. Kills it.
Okay. So another thing a seller do. You are with your buyer. They're kind of awkward, right? Whatever. And you go to the home, and the seller's there. And
this comes up all the time.
Just being
That's
there,
awkward.
first of all, is
Unless
awkward.
You know the person.
Yeah, just the seller just being there, first of all, is awkward. But please do not give us a tour. Please do not show us around. Please don't tell me about how you taught your son to play basketball on that hoop.
Yeah.
This is not helping you.
If you're here, pretend like you're not.
Yeah,
Just stay
if
over
you're
there.
here, leave.
Yeah.
Right? If you're here, leave.
I've come across
Or
a lot of
stand outside.
elderly sellers, and they do. They allow us in, and then they go back and sit in their chair,
I
which
guess
is,
like
I think,
visitors.
fine. Yeah, and then it's
doesn't
just, they allow us. But yeah, the tour guides are what we need to get
so
over.
the elderly seller or whatever,
Yeah.
the seller who stays there and sits in the corner or whatever, that's bad, but it's on, in my opinion, it's partially on the buyer's agent to say, hey, it's all right, they're going to be there, and, just don't say much,
Yeah.
And so it's on the buyer's agent to communicate with their client that this is okay, this is going to be normal, and here's how we should respond, right?
Yes.
And so I think that part of this is on the buyer's agent, actually.
Sure.
But please, seller, do not give us a tour.
Yeah, it's
Unless
the
you're
tour
wanting some of
guides.
that
No
guy's
tour guides.
commission. Or Yelp commission going.
Because then I don't know if I'm supposed to tip, and then it's just weird.
No, they are just, no one wants that.
You're
right?
not even open with your thinking because the whole time you're thinking about that person
Awkwardness.
standing right there. Like,
Awkward. Yeah.
The buyer does not want to picture you living in your home. They want to
No.
picture them living in their home, right?
Yes.
Okay, so don't be there at the showing. And the agent, this is back to the bad agents. The agent should tell you that. Leave.
If you can.
If you can.
I mean,
if you're like literally physically capable, leave.
yeah.
if you can. Yep.
Or go outside. I
Sit
on my
outs-
home
sit
inspection
outside,
today,
yeah.
The
Sit in your car.
homeowner was like outside and at least gave me some time.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, you're up.
Pinterest lovers.
What does that mean?
Sellers that love to make their home Pinteresty, but it's just not quite fit for all. So there is a house that was on the market that is the most perfect example of everything a seller should not do.
Is this different than DIY projects?
Yeah, the DIY, the whole backsplash. You know how so this house particularly, it should have sold. It's in an area that is hot. It's in a price point that fits every first-time home buyer. I'm afraid to give too much detail because I'm afraid this agent's going to hear it, but it's not one of our agents. But you walk in, and in the entry is vertical stripes, pan painted, right? You walk around the corner, there's horizontal stripes, super cute colors. You walk into the kitchen, it's chevron painted stripes, like total Pinterest out, like all the way
It's too much.
around.
Almost like,
Tony and I are Googling Chevron.
yeah. I think of the oil. That's still
Right. So you know how it goes up and down,
Yeah,
up and
it's
down.
like plaid, I guess.
Is that what I got?
It's not plaid. It's chevron. Like
She's
it's,
looking at Joey like
I don't
he's
It's like angled. Is it angles?
So it's the V's upside down V's that are all connected.
all right.
So yeah, but then, and I'm like, they've got to do a paint job, but we're talking a 3-bedroom, 2 full bath in this most desirable area. That's just
So paint your house, make it neutral.
make
Less
it
is
neutral.
more like what you said earlier.
But
Yeah,
then
which is-
everything, the things that they did too, they never decluttered. I really honestly think this agent stuck a sign in the yard and said for sale. And they didn't declutter not one closet. They barely cleaned it. It would be no different than you coming over to my house and be like, "Yeah, sorry, I got kids."
Yeah.
You
So
know,
the
like
agent
it is
should
what
tell
it
their
is.
seller, get the stuff out of here. I like to tell my seller, I'm like, I change the number from 1 to 2 depending on what they have on their counter. But I'm like, you get to have 2 things on your counter in your kitchen. Choose them wisely and then put everything else away.
No,
Right?
and you need to declutter closets because guess what?
Declutter.
We do open those doors, and when you can't see in the closet because it's falling on you, or even kitchen cabinets, like
Would you
we
agree
do
that
open
it's
those.
okay to have a bunch of boxes in the garage?
I'm okay with that, like cluttering up that basement, but allow me to look into it. But buyers do look in cabinets to see if their stuff would fit in your cabinets. They look into a closet, but it was so cluttered. They didn't take out not one thing, not
So
one
put your
thing
winter
at
clothes
all.
away if it's summer, at least.
Not
make it look
one
like this.
thing.
All right, we're running long here, so we
We
get
always
2.
are.
Let's get 2 more things each. You go first.
Carpet in bathrooms.
Hate it.
What's better than carpet in the bathroom? Hello.
If you like mold, because you constantly step on it wet.
If you like-
it's nasty. Who the
So
hell
you
does
If
that?
you like mold
Yes.
and urine, we've got.
So if you're a
Damn
seller,
carpet, so smell good.
if you're a seller, just get rid of the carpet in the bathroom. Anything is better. I don't care if it's plywood.
Yeah, plywood would be better. Absolutely.
Yes.
So you can buy.
You could polyurethane the plywood and make it look fancy, look like a loft.
All right. So I want to talk about very, very, very briefly because we could probably make another episode on this. For sale by owners, when you're a buyer's agent and you're working with a for sale by owner, the for sale by owners are killing the deals because they have no one telling them what's normal, and they maybe don't ever read the contract or something. I don't know what's going on, but they do really weird stuff and they get mad at really weird things, right? And they're like, "We're not going to do the municipal inspection." And it's like, oh, did you not read the contract at all where you agreed to do that, right? Like, I'm not sure if you read that at all, right? Or we're not going to let the appraiser in. We're tired of letting people in. Like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to send over loan denial at this time. I'm not sure, So for sale by owners, if you want to be a for sale by owner, please don't get an agent, but also just go with the process because you really need someone telling you what's normal and not how to do things crazy.
They're making it too personal. And selling a home is not a personal; it's business.
The house I'm buying right now, and I shouldn't probably put this direct, but we're closing on December 22nd, and the seller, who's a for sale by owner, emailed me and said, "Hey, I'm moving on the 22nd, and on the 26th, I've got the cleaners coming." And I'm like, what do you mean they're coming? What are you talking about? No, like
The day after Christmas.
the locks will be changed. You will not be accessing my property at this time, And so she's got no one on the other side telling her what's normal. And so I'm obviously having to do it, but I'm having to be really nice and tell her what's normal and like say it in a sweet way. And I really wanted to be like, no, you can't come over to the house. But she said she's sending cleaners over, so we're actually going to let her. But
It's like a free price.
Hysterical.
This is a good situation, but I've dealt with a lot of for sale by owners that don't let normal due process go on.
And I have dealt with FSBOs, for sale by owners.
FSBO
FSBO is what we say.
learning stuff.
And that's always been the case.
Yeah, they're a lot of
And
actually,
they shouldn't know the process. Why would they know the process?
Why would they? But a lot of times I've had our agents have said, "Oh, my buyers found this for sale by owner and they really like it. And the for sale by owner, doesn't want to pay a commission or something like that. And I'm like, oh, that's okay. Help your client. And in most cases, the deal dies because the for sale by owner is so unreasonable on certain things, whatever they are, that the deals end up dying.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, one more each.
Okay, so I think we know a lot of the stuff that's like paint it neutral, declutter. But here's one that's killed a few deals lately, and it's millennials. So it's a younger price point, but windows.
What about them?
It's been wildly interesting to walk into these homes with these younger or first-time home buyers, and they look at the windows and they're like, oh, those are the original windows. Yes.
Really? This is interesting to me
and
that
I'm
you
like,
say that.
Oh, well, yes, but you do realize there are a lot of window companies. I can help you with this.
Wait,
I've
what's the
bought
seller
many
doing wrong in
windows.
this case? What do you want them to do?
So I do think, and I had this one on Saturday, I think more than anything, they were like, God, there's a lot of other things about the house, don't get me wrong. But they were like, yeah, but all the windows. And some of these bigger city homes have these bigger windows, and they're intimidating, or there's a lot of them. So if you have the older original windows, really, it's time to update them anyway.
Wow.
So the millennials are way more energy efficient than, say, you and I.
It's just interesting to me that you say that because I've represented buyers before. We go to a house and they have all new windows and the buyers just didn't care. They just gloss over it. It's like, hold on there, Sally. I mean,
windows.
These sellers just spent $8,000 or whatever.
Well,
on
I
all
think
new
you're
windows.
talking about a new set of individuals who are a little bit more conscious about those.
Maybe that's what the millennial thing is.
Yeah, they are a little bit more energy conscious, where they are aware that it's going to cost them more to heat and cool, and that's a factor, and they try to figure that into the bills. I also have another couple who is renting, and it's so ill-efficient in their home that they spend more than I do. They must have like maybe 1,000 square foot rental place, little apartment or whatever. It's got to be smaller than that technically. But I have I'm heating and cooling almost 4,000 square feet. And their bills are more than mine.
Because of their windows.
Because of the windows and the doors.
The buyers should care, and I think you're right that the sellers probably should do that, and maybe times are changing. I've just seen where sellers have done it.
Well, I think
and
that
my
goes back
buyers
to,
don't
let me
care.
say, know your market then. Know your target market.
Know your target market.
Know your target market and who you're selling to, because I think millennials are a totally different thing. If it's a first time home, and that you're targeting windows and updated bathrooms and kitchens.
One thing else that would be a good idea. You're talking about the windows and the season stuff like that, showing a home when it's colder. One thing people don't realize is blowing more insulation in the attic.
Yeah,
you can put more insulation for attic for around $500.
Yep.
That's something simple. You're not losing a lot of heat out of it. Maybe those energy efficient windows that they don't have when you're showing the property in the wintertime, at least seems a little warmer.
Yeah, I think the green thing sort of passed over my generation, I guess, and probably millennials care more about the green stuff.
So the whole new initiative is to make homes more energy efficient and tout the energy efficiency. If your target market is a first-time home buyer, which would be maybe a millennial.
Okay, but we've been saying that for 8 years, and no one cared. Maybe they're starting to care.
Yeah, they care a little bit more now. So I'm just saying that as long as you know your target market, you don't have to do any of this advice by all means.
Probably specific per zip code or just area that's generally up and coming. More millennials are moving into that.
I would say younger families, in certain areas, whereas the younger, childless is other areas. Okay.
Well, I'll tell you what. This is officially our longest podcast ever.
How long have we gone now?
Maybe one of my favorites. We're over an hour. And so we're going to wrap it up.
It's all because of you!
We're going to wrap it up. I want to tell anyone who's listening, thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe. iTunes, we're on YouTube, we're on HermanLondon.com.
And we have no one to ask your 5 questions to, though.
We have no one to ask 5 questions to this week.
So, see that we saved time there.
We
just want to point that out.
Thank you. If
time
you
efficiency.
have questions or topics or anything that you want to cover, please email podcast@HermanLondon.com. If you have any real estate home buying or selling needs, please either call our office or just call Shannon directly, because everyone knows you want to work with Shannon St. Pierre. I said it,
Look
your
at
name
that.
right twice.
In one podcast,
Impressive.
he said my name normal.
And even though we know Tony didn't let us talk about insurance this episode, you still call Tony with all your insurance needs. Give us your contact information, Tony.
My email again is anthony.berra, B-E-R-R-A, at libertymutual.com. I have 2 phone numbers, 314-922-4912, as well as 314-580-4284.
But that's only if you want to save money. I mean,
Yeah.
Only if you want to save money. So
Yeah.
only the millennials call them, is that what you're saying?
Anybody
No.
can save money.
Oh, anybody can. Okay. So thanks again, everyone, for listening. Please reach out. We'd love to know what you want to hear. And take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.